Hey y'all, welcome to the Quimby Chronicles, where real life gets real honest. I'm your host Traci, mama, storyteller, truth teller, and woman learning out loud. Every week we peel back the layers of motherhood, womanhood, healing, and everything in between. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's heavy, but it's always from the heart. Juneteenth isn't just a date on the calendar. It's a feeling, a memory, a mirror. In this episode of the Quimby Chronicles, I'm reflecting on what freedom really means for me as a Black woman, a mother, a sister, and a daughter of the legacy they tried to erase. We're talking about Juneteenth and the truth behind it, the beauty of Black fatherhood, and the kind of freedom we're still fighting for. So grab your tea, take a deep breath, and sit with me, because this moment, it's sacred. Our stories deserve to be heard. Hey y'all. Welcome back to the Quimby Chronicles. It's your girl Traci, and today I'm pulling up to the mic with a full heart, a lot on my mind, and even more on my spirit. Because today is Juneteenth, a day of remembrance, celebration, and truth-telling. And on this special episode, we're talking about... Hey y'all. Welcome back to the Quimby Chronicles. It's your girl Traci, and today I'm pulling up to the mic with a full heart, a lot on my mind, and even more on my spirit. Because today is Juneteenth. It's a day of remembrance, it's a day of celebration, and it's a day of truth-telling. Now, my daughter and I had a conversation last night about Juneteenth. So then I was like, oh, well, that's perfect because I have a Juneteenth episode coming up, okay? So on this special episode about Juneteenth, we're going to talk about what freedom really means. Not just freedom, but what freedom really means. Not just on paper, but what it really means in our bones, what it means in our bodies, what it means in our families, what it means in our communities, and yes, even in our motherhood and our womanhood. So we're going to talk about what it means to be Black and still not fully free. We're going to talk about what it means to father in a system that wants to break you. And we're going to talk about what it means to mother in a world that expects you to hold everything and everyone together. Okay, so let's set the record straight about what Juneteenth really means. Like I said, my daughter asked me, she said, oh, what is Juneteenth? And it was because she happened to be looking at the calendar. So she's looking at the calendar. She's like, what's Juneteenth? So I go on to explain to her, what Juneteenth is. And then, of course, what are slaves? And why did they do that? And why didn't they just, all these questions came about. And I love it because she's curious. And it gave me an opportunity to teach her. So let's be real. For a long time, Juneteenth wasn't even something many of us were taught about. I know I didn't learn about it when I was in school. Granted, I graduated school almost 30 years ago. I graduated high school almost 30 years ago, but I didn't know anything about Juneteenth. I want to say honestly, I learned about Juneteenth probably about 10 years ago. It was about 10 years ago. So everything I know now came from my community. It came from Black folks refusing to let our history get erased. And I will say social media has played a really big part in it for me because when I see something on social media, I'm like, oh, wow, really? And I'll go look it up. So I have learned so much over like the past 10 years or so about Juneteenth and what it really means. So Juneteenth marks June 19th, 1865, when the Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, and finally told enslaved Black folks they were free. 2 years after emancipation. 2 years. So for 2 years, these slaves were emancipated, but their owners figured, oh, what they don't know won't hurt them and definitely will benefit us. So 2 years after emancipation, Union troops went to Galveston, Texas and said, hey, y'all are free. Y'all are emancipated. And that delay, that silence, that withholding of freedom, that is definitely a part of the story too. That aspect, that withholding of freedom, it just reminds us that justice in America has always been delayed for us and people who look like us. But as always, we had to make a way. We've always made a way out of no way. And that is just, I think that's just something that to the core of our people, we're going to make it happen regardless of whatever. And my history with this country is a little bit different because I was born in Barbados. I did grow up here, but I was born in Barbados. So a lot of the stories of slavery and things like that, they're not the American version. We were colonized by the British. So for me, a lot of it is, the British aspect of slavery and the stories that my grandmother told me and my mom told me, they're from the British aspect and not necessarily the American aspect. Not that it makes it any better. So as a Black woman, this is the history that I carry in my skin, in my voice, in my walk, and in my womb. There's this constant tug of war that I have within myself between being strong and being soft, between being the person that holds everybody down and trying to hold on to myself, between survival and rest, between showing up for everybody else and constantly wondering, well, who's going to show up for me? Who's going to show up for me? Because I know I'm going to show up for my people. Well, who are my people? Who's going to show up for me? Freedom for me looks like not having to shrink myself in order to make people comfortable. My voice is my voice and it belongs to me. And I have as much of a right to speak my voice or let my voice be heard as everybody else. Freedom for me looks like crying without feeling weak. It looks like not carrying guilt for needing to rest or choosing joy. And I will say that that is something that I have been embracing way more this year. And if you follow my personal Instagram and things like that, you'll see 2025 has been a rough year. So I have been learning to not be guilty about choosing rest or choosing joy. Freedom for me also looks like raising my babies without fearing that the world won't love them the way I do. I know the world's not going to love them the way I do, and that's okay. But what I make sure I do as a parent is I make sure that I prepare them for that world and I give them the tools that are necessary to be able to deal with the world who's not going to love them the way I do. Freedom for me looks like being fully me, unapologetic, unfiltered, and unafraid. But truthfully, I'm still fighting that battle, and I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one fighting to be just me and not have to water down, not have to code switch, not have to worry about what my hair looks like when I go on a job interview, things like that. And I know it's just not me. So within this, I also want to take a moment out to honor our brothers, our Black men, the fathers, the uncles, the grandfathers, the men that are doing their best in a world that often doesn't see their humanity. They see them for their physical attributes. That's it. From slavery to now, Black fatherhood has always been politicized, it's been criminalized, and it's been questioned. But I see y'all, and I love y'all. I love y'all for doing what y'all do and doing it the way y'all do it. I've watched Black men father their children through trauma of their own. I've watched Black men who have been through some of the most unimaginable things within their childhood or early adulthood and still go on to be the most loving, caring, compassionate fathers and partners ever. I've watched Black men father and love through pain. I've watched them protect their own even when they're afraid. I've watched them lead even though that they've lost an immense amount of themselves or their families. And Black fatherhood is more than a physical presence. It's a resistance. It's definitely revolutionary. And it's a promise to our children that they are worthy of love and legacy, the legacy that you're going to leave behind for them. And my hat is off to the Black fathers who embody that. My hat is off to the Black fathers who take the time out to teach their children. and teach them lessons and not always be just the disciplinarian or the person who comes in and yells. I love when Black fathers teach their Black sons how to treat a woman, and they teach their Black daughters how they should be treated. I love it. Love it. And for the dads that didn't show up, I have grace for them too, because I understand that so many of them were carrying wounds that they never had the space or freedom to heal. So you get some grace. You don't get a pass, but you get some grace. I had a father that didn't show up, and for me, I was lucky enough, so very lucky to have someone step in and say, you know what? I will take that place. I will teach you these lessons. I will show you how a man is supposed to treat you. I'll show you how things are supposed to be. I'll show you what a protector looks like. I'll show you what a provider looks like. And I will tell you, and I tell people all the time, there is a special place in heaven for my dad, a special place in heaven for him. So I'm lucky. I'm so very fortunate to have had him step in and say, you know what? I got it. I got it from here. Sometimes I sit and I ask myself, what does freedom really look like for us now? Because a lot of people think freedom is just about laws and acts. And in this climate, you already know, okay? You already know. But freedom is so much more than that. Freedom is about living. It's about being able to walk through your neighborhood without fear, which a lot of us can't do today. A lot of us, you walk through your neighborhood, people think that you don't belong there. They think that you're there to steal something. They think you're there to do God knows what. And I will say, when we first moved into this neighborhood, when you first get into a new house, you have all these people coming by, they're soliciting. And I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, when I or my ex-husband open the door, they're taken aback. Like, oh, you're the owners? Yes, yes, we are. Freedom is also having access to quality health care and not having to worry that because you're a Black woman or you're a Black man, you're going to get substandard care or you're going to get ignored. Freedom is about your children learning about themselves in school with pride and not with shame, not having to come home and ask their parent, hey, Ma, what's slavery? Hey, Mom, we learned about the Montgomery bus boycott. What was that all about? And I will say that I am so fortunate. My daughter goes to a school that still does teach about civil rights and the civil rights leaders and stuff like that. Freedom is also being able to rest, to dance, to dream without someone thinking that you don't deserve it. And what I hear going around a lot now, this whole DEI thing. Oh, anything you do, it's a DEI. It's DEI this, DEI that. And if you've been wondering why you're tired, it's because we're still fighting for freedom on so many fronts. We're fighting on the emotional front, we're fighting on the physical front, and we're fighting on the spiritual front. So, yeah, you're tired. Get your rest. Because I know I do. Now that my kids are gone with my mom and dad, I'm getting my rest, okay? So, I need you to get yours too. But let me say this clearly. Joy is liberation. Have you ever just remember the last time that you were somewhere at a party, at a family gathering, and there was nothing on your mind other than being present in the moment? Not bills, not what's going to happen when I go out on the street, not anything but what was going on at that moment. Laughter at the cookout is liberation. Braiding your daughter's hair while you playing Frankie Beverly or Whitney Houston in the background. That's liberation. Dancing barefoot in your living room with your kids, cooking up your grandma's recipes. That's freedom too. This Juneteenth, I want us to remember that celebrating is not ignoring the struggle. It's honoring the survival. So we're not going to ignore the struggle, but we're definitely still going to honor that survival. We're going to celebrate that survival. And it's basically saying, you didn't break me, because guess what? I'm still here. So I want Black women especially to hear me when I say rest is your birthright, not your reward. I'm going to say it one more time. Rest is your birthright, not a reward. Okay? So you don't reward yourself with rest. Rest is necessary. Rest is survival. So make sure you get your rest. Because like I tell people all the time, I can't pour from an empty cup. And in order for my cup to be filled, I got to get my rest. Okay? So rest, say it with me, rest is my birthright, not a reward. So today, on this sacred day, I honor the ancestors who never stopped dreaming of us. I honor the Black men loving their families despite the weight they carry. I honor the Black women holding everyone together while trying desperately, desperately not to fall apart. I honor the kids we're raising who will hopefully know a version of freedom that we didn't get to experience. I hope that they will get to know a version of freedom that we're still fighting for. I hope that they get to walk down the streets safely. I hope that they get equal access to healthcare. I hope that when somebody sees them, the first thing is not, that's a Black boy, that's a boy, or that's a Black girl. That's a girl who just so happens to be Black. I hope that our kids grow up and are able to embrace their natural hair without being told it's nappy or it's ugly or it's unkempt or untamed. I hope that they grow up and they'll know a version of freedom that we're still fighting for. Because we are definitely our ancestors' wildest dreams. These days, we're astronauts, we are neurophysicists, we are anesthesiologists, we are nurse anesthetists, and then as Black women, we hold the most master's degrees in this country as Black women. And even though we're our ancestors' wildest dreams, we're also their unfinished business. So we got to keep building, we got to keep resting, and we got to keep showing up. Most of all, we got to keep loving. Happy Juneteenth, y'all. So if this episode spoke to your soul, do me a favor. Share it with someone, talk about it with your family, post it, tag me, and let's keep this conversation going beyond the holiday. And remember, you are enough. You are worthy and you deserve to be free every day in every way. I'll see y'all next time on the Quimby Chronicles. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. That's it for this chapter of the Quimby Chronicles. Keep growing, keep glowing. I'll catch you next time.